This is Lisa Levinson, and I'm here to welcome you to our Vegan Spirituality online gathering. This is our sacred time together to gather and explore veganism as a spiritual practice. This program is part of In Defense of Animals' Sustainable Activism program, and what we do is offer emotional and spiritual tools for animal activists. We also have another website, veganspirituality.com, where you can find in-person meetings. So if you'd like to join a vegan spirituality group and meet with others in your community, you can do so on veganspirituality.com. So we have groups all across the country in the U.S., and hopefully we'll get some new ones outside the U.S. as well, where we can gather together to actually in person explore different spiritual practices and how they integrate with veganism. So here today, what we'll do is we interview a special guest, and my co-host, Judy Carmen, who's the author of Peace to All Beings, will be conducting the interview shortly. So hi, Judy. How are you doing today? Oh, let's see. Not hearing
There.
you. Okay, perfect.
Sorry.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'm here.
Great. So it's nice to have you on board. Judy and I actually just got back from the Parliament of World Religions, which was a very exciting time with people from all over the world. It felt like all over the galaxy were joining together to share their spiritual views and to work on interfaith projects. And we were there to encourage people of faith to go vegan for spiritual reasons, which is a new approach. And we were privileged to be able to have a booth there, and so surprised to find many, many supporters who were very interested in veganism at this Parliament of World Religions. So that's really, really wonderful. And for now, I'd like to welcome Judy, who's going to introduce our special guest today.
Hi, everybody. I'm hoping that I'll come through okay and everybody can see me. We've got a snowstorm going on right now. I'm in Kansas and it's cold and we've got a little bit of a blizzard. So hopefully that won't interfere with this. But I am, and Lisa is too, very excited to introduce our guest. We're honored to have her here. She's very busy and she's given us this time, so we appreciate it. Her name is Meenakshi Angel Honig. She has studied with the highly revered, world-renowned yoga master Sri Swami Satchidananda from the age of 16. She is an internationally acclaimed yoga instructor, teacher, trainer, wellness consultant, speaker, and author. She has taught at universities, hospitals, medical centers, corporations, government agencies, world-class resorts, yoga retreats, and on for over 45 years. She served as the premier mind, body, spirit yoga instructor and stress management consultant at the Grand Wailea Resort on Maui for over 17 years. She's the co-founder of Wellbeing International, a nonprofit dedicated to individual and global well-being, and also a licensed minister in Hawaii. A highly respected animal rights advocate and a leader in promoting plant-based nutrition and lifestyle. She has appeared on TV and radio. She's featured in her Yoga Feels Good television show, which was aired for several years and has uplifted countless souls with the glorious science of yoga. She has produced 5 DVDs, 2 CDs, the author of 10 books. Her most recent highly acclaimed book is titled Feel Good Now, How to Feel Your Best and Have Your Best to Give. Her work is endorsed by several of America's best-selling authors, including Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra, Satchidananda, and many other great luminaries, and including our Dr. Will Tuttle. She's also passionate about combining her love for dance and yoga into what she calls flying yoga, which I would love to see what that is all about. 5 of her pieces, which is spelled P-E-A-C-E-S, can be viewed on YouTube. She currently teaches at the Fairmont Kealani on Maui, as well as on her national and international teaching tours. Please contact her if you would like to arrange a program in your area or have a retreat tailored for you on Maui. She has a website at angelyoga.com, and there's also an upcoming retreat that Angel is going to be hosting with Lisa. It'll be a vegan spirituality retreat on Maui, and so we'll hear a little bit about that. In fact, Angel, would you like to tell us about that upcoming retreat?
Oh, the upcoming retreat on Maui. Yes. Well, I'm
Yes.
very honored to be able to lead that retreat in a beautiful sunset experience where we walk on the beach as a walking meditation and we do some pranayama, the breathing practices for vitality, and then we do some meditation to calm and still the mind. And then we're going to do some safe sun gazing, which is an ancient yogic practice. And then we're going to have a circle sharing our vegan spirituality, and everyone has a chance to contribute in that opening and closing circle. So it'll just be a beautiful sunset experience on the beautiful island of Maui.
Yeah, thanks. It sounds heavenly, and that's going to take place in January. Is that right? Or is it, no, it's coming right
December.
up.
December.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, okay. And we can find out more about that on veganspirituality.com, I believe, right?
Actually, the best place to find out about the retreat is on idausa.org/Hawaii retreat. That's where it's located. That's a
Oh,
great place
okay,
to find out
okay,
details, itinerary, and I will share a little bit more about this when we go into our Q&A after the interview.
okay. Thanks, Lisa. So, Angel, back to you. Please tell us how you found Swami Satchidananda when you were only 16. Were you vegan then, and was he vegan, and were his teachings instrumental in you becoming vegan? Please tell us.
Certainly. Well, I had the astronomical blessing of meeting Swami Satchidananda at the age of 16 by divine grace, I would have to say. I was living in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I went to UC Berkeley in the dance department, and I saw a picture of Swami Satchidananda on the outside. I'm giving you the very streamlined version of this, the very streamlined version of what it was an amazing, magical, elaborate story. But I saw his photo and I was drawn in and took a yoga class at the Integral Yoga Institute in Berkeley. And there was an altar there with a picture of Swami Satchidananda. And coming from his photos, just like beams from the headlights of a car, was just pure love and pure light that just infused my being. And I thought, whatever he has is what I want. And I dedicated my life to experiencing that and to the best of my ability, being that and disseminating that to others.
Oh my goodness, what a wonderful story. Very, very magical in many ways. But was he vegan? Is that how you became vegan?
Okay, he was a vegetarian at that time, and I was a vegetarian at that time. So I became a vegetarian when I was 11 years old. I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I never knew of one single vegetarian, never even heard of vegetarianism. This was before the internet and before everybody knew everything and had access to all that information. Um, and as soon as I became aware of what meat was, I had no idea up until I was 11. I seriously did not know what it was. I thought it was something that came in a package from Safeway. I had no idea what it was. And then the second I discovered that, I immediately became a vegetarian. So I was the first vegetarian I ever met. I became a vegetarian at the age of 11. So when I met Swami Satchidananda and one of his teachings was vegetarianism, my heart said yes, because I had already come to that realization myself. Then I continued as a vegetarian because I thought, like many people, I was under the false understanding that cows just graze in the field and they lovingly offer their milk and it's this beautiful symbiotic relationship with humans. And I ate dairy because I didn't know any better. But then in 1987, when John Robbins' book came out, Diet for a New America, I never even read the book, but a friend of mine read the book and was deeply moved by the book and created a handout that summarized the key points from the book. As soon as I read that summary, by the time I finished reading it, I was a vegan for life. That was over 30 years ago. So I became a vegan when I realized the horrific suffering that dairy cows have to endure in order for people to drink milk, which is so unnecessary. So I became a vegan at that time. And then I also became a vegan educator to try and inform and inspire and educate other people to realize what they're doing, because I didn't realize it. And I love that, I take refuge in the teaching from Father, forgive them, they know not what they do. I knew that I was a good person, didn't realize what I was doing. As soon as I realized it, I stopped. And so I know there's many other good people that are perfectly good people, just like I was, that just didn't know what went on. And now that I do know, I dedicate my life to informing others so that we can put an end to that extreme cruelty that is so unnecessary.
Wow, that's wonderful. So did Swami Satchidananda, did he go vegan as well?
Well, I tried my best to influence him in that direction. And I think, with all due respect to him, he was very much culturally indoctrinated into the Indian culture, where dairy is very prevalent and is very prevalent in Ayurveda. And I remember that I asked Dr. Michael Clapper, who I revere, many of you may know him, he's a vegan MD. I asked him if he would make a cassette tape for Swami Satchidananda explaining the importance of going from vegetarian to vegan. And I gave that to Swami Satchidananda, and I gave him the CD by Bruce Friedrich, Veganism in a Nutshell, and I tried my best to write letters and to when he came to perform my wedding, for example, it was a complete vegan wedding, and we tried to just get, whenever he came to Maui, just get vegan food for him, and so I did my best with that.
Thanks. Yeah, it's difficult, but I think there's a lot of progress going on with people in
Yes.
India shifting their ideas about milk at this point because of all the information that's out there now. So you have 10 compelling reasons to choose a plant-based diet. And as vegan activists, we're all always looking for ways to get our information across to people. So those, can you tell us a little bit about those and how we might be able to use those 10 compelling
Yes,
reasons?
yes. I think as vegan activists, we all know that most people come to veganism through three main doors. One is through love for animals, animal welfare. One door is environment. People don't want the rainforest cut down. Or the third door is health reasons. So in my 10 compelling reasons, I cover all those bases. So there's something there for everyone. So in my 10 compelling reasons, I try to take a vast topic and really condense it into 10 specific things, knowing that whatever door they're coming through, one of these is going to resonate with them and hopefully catalyze a change. So, would you like me to share what they are?
Sure. Yeah, I think this is a great time.
Oh,
And
okay.
also let us know if they're online somewhere, on your website maybe,
Well,
or a book.
yes, they're in my book, Feel Good Now, How to Feel Your Best and Have Your Best to Give. There's an entire segment, and it's elaborated in that book beautifully and beautifully illustrated with gorgeous photos. So it's available there. And people can go to my website, angelyoga.com. And if anyone sends me an email with the subject line 10 compelling reasons, I will be happy to send them the PDF of my handouts on that topic. So there's a lot of ways they could get that information. And I'm also in the process of making that into its own book through Balboa Press.
That sounds really helpful. I think we could all use that really well. So,
Yes.
yeah. So you're such an important part of the yoga community, and I know a lot of yoga teachers are not vegan yet. What has your response been from them when you talk to them about veganism? What's holding them back?
Mhm. Well, in some areas, Judy, I've had very good success, and other areas are a work in progress. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you wanted me to share what the 10 compelling reasons are or not, or you just
Oh,
want to jump onto
sure.
this. But whatever
Yeah.
serves best the community here, I'm happy to share.
Why don't we wait for
Okay.
the Q&A and see if anyone wants us to talk about
Sure.
those 10 reasons?
Sure.
Because,
Okay, good.
like you said, they could email you and get them that way, or get your book and get them that
Yeah,
way.
fine.
So,
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
great. Yeah, because
Okay.
we are short on time.
Okay. So, regarding yoga in the veganism in the yoga community, for the last year, I taught yoga at a beautiful, gorgeous center in Wailea on Maui called the Wailea Healing Center. And I teach full yoga, not just asanas. Asanas means the physical postures. A lot of people who call themselves yoga teachers are really just asana teachers. They're just teaching the physical postures and not the entire science of yoga. So the entire science of yoga is an eight-limbed path. And those eight limbs are vitally important. Asana is just one of those eight. So when people do physical postures, they're only doing 1/8 of the pie. But I teach the whole pie. So the first limb is of these eight is yama and niyama, the first two, and they each have five components. 5 and 5 equals 10, and they're very similar to the 10 commandments. And that is the ethical perfection upon which the entire science of yoga rests. The very first one of these ethical principles is ahimsa, which means non-injury. It means to do our best not to cause harm in our thoughts, in our words, and in our actions. So to answer your question about the yoga community, in my class where I had great success at the Wailea Healing Center is that I was teaching a meditation class. And for the meditation class, each week I covered one of the yamas and niyamas, meaning one of the observances and restraints of these 10 components of ethical perfection. And when I gave my talk on ahimsa, I said we have the opportunity every single day to practice ahimsa or to violate ahimsa based on our dietary choices. Because every single bite we take is a vote for cruelty or loving kindness, for devastation or sustainability, for disease or for radiant well-being on every level. And so I gave my talk on ahimsa, why as yogis and yoginis we should have a vegan diet in order to observe the very one and most important principle of yoga. And the people there got it. And I said at the end, because I always like to bring it to practical application, I said, what is, after I gave my talk on ahimsa and how that relates to our dietary choices and how it relates to yoga, and then I said to each person, what is one step based on what I shared today that you would like to commit to moving in this direction? And so the first person said, well, I'm 80% vegan. Based on what you said, I'm going 100% vegan. I went, great. Then the next person, who's the owner of this whole studio, said, I'm going vegan. The manager, I'm going vegan. And Laura Lee Blanchard, who runs the Leilani Farm Sanctuary here on Maui, was attending my class that day. And she was blown away witnessing all these people affirming and committing in front of the whole class that they were going vegan. And so I've had some success in some areas. In other areas, it's still a work in progress. And when you ask me why, I would have to say it's because of what Will Tuttle calls a cultural trance. There are some people who are so entrenched in this cultural trance and have these blinders on that when even I point things out that are indisputable, abominable violations of ahimsa, and as yoga teachers who are teaching ahimsa, it's the height of hypocrisy for them not to observe it. Somehow they have a blind eye or turn a deaf ear to it. And so all I can do is live by the teaching. It's better to light one small candle than to curse the darkness. I pray for the enlightenment of consciousness. I say to myself, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. And then I continued to do my part to write letters. I'm on a campaign right now where I'm going to be sending to all the yoga teachers in Integral Yoga International a letter that has a link to Erin Janice's 5 Dairy Explained in 5 Minutes, her video on that. And I wrote a letter because it says in our yoga teacher's manual that dairy is a sattvic food. Now, sattvic is a Sanskrit word that means tranquil, balanced food, and it's listed as a balanced, tranquil food. And then I said to them in this letter, okay, let's put on our critical thinking hat here for a moment. Cows are brutally confined. They are brutally dehorned. They are artificially inseminated on what's called rape racks. They're milked with painful machines. Their babies are ripped away from them when they are born. they're so spent by being impregnated over and over and over again to where they're exhausted that they collapse after 4 to 5 years when their milk production sloughs off, and then they're sent to slaughter for beef. And I said to them, what part of this is sattvic? What part of this is ahimsa? You can't make it any more clear. And so now I just have to do this process of praying, being consistent with the message, trying it from new angles. Maybe the younger generation coming in is more receptive and understanding. To just keep at it, persistence, until that point. And how I can explain this is through what I call acid-base titration. So if you have two dishes, one that's alkaline and one that's acid, if you take the alkaline and you put a drop into the acid, and you take another drop and you put it into the acid, and you take another alkaline drop and put it into the acid, after a certain amount of alkaline goes into the acid that's called critical mass, the acid becomes alkaline. So what I'm committed to doing is just keep putting those drops in, and I know eventually it will make the impact. So it takes persistence, it takes patience, it takes understanding, it takes compassion. As the saying goes, truth goes through 3 stages. First, it's ridiculed, then it's violently opposed, and then it's considered self-evident. I know without a shadow of a doubt that this will become self-evident to everyone, and my job is to, as lovingly and peacefully and skillfully and consistently as I can, further that until it does become self-evident.
Wow. Thank you, Angel. Yeah, that's encouraging to all of us, I think, because that's what we're working toward, is that vegan world where it's self-evident and everyone will just be going, why did we ever eat animals? So thanks to you and other leaders, we're getting there, and it's wonderful. And we need to know that. We need to underline that because it can get discouraging. So tell us about your Wellbeing International. Is there a website for that? Or is that information on angelyoga.com?
Angelyoga.com. Yes.
Okay. All right. So people can look up and find out more about that.
Yes.
And so does it integrate spirituality and veganism kind of together?
Everything we do integrates spirituality and veganism. In fact, I don't think it's possible to truly, and I know Dr. Will Tuttle did a video on this that I'd like to recommend for everyone. I don't think it is possible to be spiritual and not to be vegan, because if you're teaching loving kindness, if you're teaching satya, truthfulness, if you're teaching asteya, non-stealing, all the principles of do not murder, all the principles that are the foundation of spirituality, if you're espousing that with your mouth and then you're going out and eating an ice cream cone, it's just the height of hypocrisy. So people have to take these blinders off. They have to wake up from this cultural trance and see what they are doing and make a change. And all we can do is, as lovingly as possible, keep the information coming out through all forms of media. A lot of these movies that come out now are fantastic, such as Earthlings, Cowspiracy, What the Health, Forks Over Knives. So whether it be through videos, whether it be through books like Dr. Will Tuttle's book, The World Peace Diet, or through my book, Feel Good Now, or Sarah Taylor's book, Vegetarian to Vegan, Vegan in 30 Days, or your book, or countless books. People can get it through video, they can get it through books, they can get it through internet, they can get it through phone apps, they can get it in countless ways through these meetup groups. We need to just leaflets, pamphlets, whatever it takes across the board. We need to just keep getting the message out. And veganism is the fastest growing movement in the world right now.
Yeah, and we have so many resources now compared to when you first went vegan.
Oh, when I went
It's
vegan, yeah,
a
30 years
lot.
ago. Unbelievable. I mean, now
Yeah.
they have hemp milk and soy milk and Brazil nut milk and hazelnut milk and macadamia nut milk. I mean, come on, you guys. They have every kind of vegan yogurt. There's no need to cause this unspeakable cruelty to animals when there's all these other healthy alternatives. When I became a vegan, there were no other alternatives. I just did happily without it and did just fine without it. So, yeah, there's absolutely no excuse that holds water just to call a spade a spade. There's no reason not to go vegan. It's cruel to the animals. It's devastating to the environment. It creates havoc in our own health. There's absolutely no reason that holds water not to go vegan.
Right, thanks. So we're also interested in the reactions you're getting when you go to corporations and medical centers and places like that, because you're not necessarily going to be seeing real open-minded people, and especially they may not be spiritually oriented either. So what kind of reactions are you getting from them, and do you
Mhm,
talk to them about the spiritual benefits of veganism?
mhm. Yeah. Well, I think that our language is important, what the Buddhists call skillful means. I try my best to tailor my presentation for the audience that's present there to the best of my ability. Instead of saying the word vegan, I say plant-based nutrition. And I might lead with something that they can relate with, like I'll say something like, the number one cause of death in this country is heart disease. It has been scientifically shown through the work of Dr. Dean Ornish that heart disease can not only be arrested but reversed through 4 components: yoga, meditation, low-fat vegan diet, and group support. And then sometimes just bringing in the science of it and starting out with health, what people care about, or people who are into the environment. If I'm speaking to a group like in the United States Forest Service that I did workshops for, I would talk about 80% of all deforestation is attributable to the meat, dairy, and egg industries. And so we're cutting down the forests both for, you know, raising the crops, the feed crops, as well as grazing the cows. And so if people went vegan, we could reverse deforestation. So my point being here, I try to lead with something that would make sense to or resonate with that particular group. And then once the conversation is open, I might, gently and slowly interweave some other elements of spirituality into the conversation, because we are all by nature compassionate. So whether it's corporate world or medical world, or, I teach in one of the highest ranking resorts in the world, whether it's high end CEOs, doctors, lawyers, wherever you are, everybody has a conscience. Everybody has a heart. Everybody is compassionate by nature, although it may be shut down by our cultural indoctrination. And I do my best to awaken that by using language that's not inflammatory, by leading with things that they may resonate with, by employing such techniques as meeting them where they're at, doing active listening, repeating back what I hear them say first so they feel heard and seen and met. And then I try to gently spiral it up in a way that they could relate to. You know, almost everybody has some dog, cat, or pet that they love. And I might say something like, well, you know, I know that you all love your dogs and cats and pets. And did you know that? And then I'll start to bring in that cows and pigs and chickens have the same feelings as your dogs and cats. They have the same intelligence, the same nervous system. They have the same ability to feel pain and joy and family and recognition. And so then I try and, like, you know, gently bring in the more spiritual aspects of ahimsa or satya or karma, the spiritual aspect of karma. So I think that you have to kind of like warm up and be careful with your language and address it as much as possible and be somewhat gentle. But when I say gentle, my approach is to speak the truth in as kind a way as possible. But I am not saying that that is the only or best way to do vegan advocacy. Because take someone like Gary Yourofsky. Okay, so Gary Yourofsky, he has impacted almost the entire state of Israel, which is one of the fastest growing vegan countries in the world. And Gary Yourofsky, he speaks in so harshly and with such foul language and calls a spade and gets in your face and, you know, unbelievable. But he is effective. Countless people, and I mean countless people, have become vegan by his approach. And so my voice in sharing this, because you said this is mainly vegan activists listening to this, is that whatever your authentic, unique voice is, use that because they're all needed. So I can look at Gary Yourofsky, who has done unbelievable vegan advocacy. I mean, what he's done in Israel. Of course, Will Tuttle's book sells very well in Israel too, The World Peace Diet. So it's not Gary alone. It's other vegan educators who are also making an impact. But I'm just using it as an example. His approach is so harsh. Well, when I was teaching at the Shivananda ashram in the Bahamas and giving a satsang, a spiritual talk about ahimsa, and then I was explaining my 10 compelling reasons for a vegan diet. And so many of the people at that ashram, because it's run by Israelis, are from Israel originally. And one of them came up to me afterwards and she said to me, you know, I could not hear Gary Yourofsky talk. It was so foul language and so harsh, I had to turn it off. But she said to me, when you said it in such a kind and soothing and systematic way with your 10 compelling reasons, I was able to hear it. My point in sharing this story is each one of us has to give our voice in the way that's authentic to us. And if you have a harsh way like Gary, but you get results, God bless you. I revere him. I think what he's done is phenomenal. And yet I couldn't speak that way. But there are people who cannot hear him who can hear me. And there are people who could not hear me who can hear him. My point being, we're all needed. Every single one of us is needed because we each communicate our truth in our unique flavor, with our unique frame of reference, in such a way that someone will hear it from us that they can't hear it from anyone else. Or maybe it's going to be a combination. Like maybe when they hear it coming from 5 or 6 different directions, finally they'll go, yeah, I get the message. Right. So maybe we contributed toward their journey in that direction in some way, shape, or form. And that's all we can hope for. All we can do is, as Gurudev said, do your best and leave the rest. So we do our best to plant seeds of peace and ahimsa and then just trust then that they'll sprout in divine timing.
That's such a great message because, yeah, we're all different. We all have a different way of approaching it, and it's all seeds. We're planting all these seeds, and a lot of good is coming out of that.
Yes.
So, I'm looking at the time, and I'm thinking we should open up for questions.
Yes.
Um, and Lisa, can we do that now? If anybody has questions, because some people may have to leave at 8.
Sure, we can. We got started a little bit later due to some technical difficulties, so I think we'll go ahead and continue on, a little bit longer, if that's okay with you. And if people have to go, they can go. But I'm so grateful to everyone for joining us today. It's been really, really wonderful, and also such a spectacular interview. This is really invaluable information, and your style of doing advocacy, I think, is very helpful for many of us who engage with the spiritual communities and the yogic communities. So I'm so grateful to you for sharing your wisdom with us today, Angel. And then is for those of you who want to ask Angel a question directly, if you're on the phone with us and you're in our webinar, you can press *4, and then from there you'll go ahead and unmute yourself and be able to ask a question. And it looks like many people are with us online. And to ask a question here, if you can actually click on the icon. At the top of the screen, there's a little icon that looks like a little video camera. You can click there, and that will allow you to show your webcam, show yourself, your picture, and then we can see you. You can also unmute yourself. There's a little microphone icon, which you can do that. And both of those will enable us to hear you and see you, which is lots of fun. If you're with us on one of the Facebook Live feeds, you can type the comment into the feed section, and hopefully we'll be able to see your question. We do have a question to start off with, which is a good one. Someone on our gathering today, Marilyn, she's saying, she's asking if you have references that support the idea that humans were herbivores before carnivores. And she's curious because she'd like to send some studies to some doctors who say that omega-3 can only be obtained from meat products instead of other ingredients such as flaxseed. So she's also very grateful to you for your information. So if you have anything specific you could share with us that we could use as a resource, that would be great.
Sure. Well, it's indisputable that our physiology as humans is designed for plant nutrition. The shape of our teeth, the length of our intestines, our lack of night vision, every single thing about our physiology is designed to eat plants. So if she wants to present this to doctors, I would suggest doing a Google search on the physiological attributes of the human body that are designed for plant nutrition. And she will get a comprehensive list when you're saying references. And then if you give that list to any medical doctor that's all based on physiology and anatomy, it's indisputable, indisputably clear.
Wonderful. Well, that's very helpful, just to get the basic anatomy so that we can present that information to others. And just checking to see if there's any other questions. If anyone who's joined us, I'm looking on some of the other on our live feed just to see. There we go. Great. And looks like people are expressing their gratitude to you. I also want to hear a little bit about your, I know you've shared some of it about your experiences in the yogic community, how have you responded to people when they are a little resistant to that message of compassion for animals, even though they're in the yogic community?
Hmm. Well, I try to use the yogic teachings, ahimsa, nonviolence, satya, taking a stand for the truth, asteya, non-stealing, that when you're eating dairy, because most yogic community will agree vegetarianism. So really with that community, we're going from vegetarian to vegan. Asteya, non-stealing, I'll say to them, you're preaching non-stealing, but in the dairy industry, 98% of dairy comes from factory farms where you're stealing their sovereignty, you're stealing their life, you're stealing their milk, you're stealing their babies that they've just carried for 9 months. How can you say practice non-stealing and then eat dairy? So I try my best to give examples based on the teachings. And I will use also, if I could read you an excerpt from my book on this topic. From my book, this is about the yogic teaching of karma. So I wrote in my book, and I'm reading you an excerpt. What goes around comes around. That's the law of karma. We kill animals, we die of heart attacks. We force feed animals, we suffer with obesity. We ingest the biochemistry of terror and misery, and from these abused animals, we suffer from anxiety and depression. We rape animals through forced artificial insemination. Women are raped worldwide. We milk animals with painful electric machines. We suffer with breast cancer and contaminated breast milk. We abuse animals. We suffer from domestic violence and war. We devastate our environment, and we suffer from GMOs, water shortages, pollution, deforestation, fires, and climate crisis. We rip away animals' babies from them hours after giving birth. Our families are broken apart. But the good news is that all of this is reversible by replacing the mentality of domination and violence toward animals with loving kindness, with cooperation, with ahimsa, which is the basis of yoga. And so we can see the law of karma, that what goes around comes around. We kill the cow, then the saturated fat clogs the arteries to the heart and kills the heart, that kills the body, the number one cause of death in this country. So it's indisputable to see the cause and effect relationship. And what I try to do is just help them connect the dots, help them see. These are the teachings we're teaching. This is the diet that goes congruently with these teachings. And if you're going to walk, speak the talk, you should eat the talk, right? And so when you're asking, how do I respond by, in as kind a way as possible, speaking the truth. And I'd like to share with you one other quote from Gandhi on this topic that's also in my book. It says, many people, especially ignorant people, want to punish you for speaking the truth, for being correct, for being you. Never apologize for being correct or for being years ahead of your time. If you're right and you know it, speak your mind. Even if you are a minority of one, the truth is still the truth. And that's a quote by Mahatma Gandhi. And as Martin Luther King said, ignoring evil is being an accomplice to it, and that we need to follow our conscience. And so I think the most important thing is how to respond to people is with kindness, with consistency, with from all different angles, keep giving the message until finally it's going to land. It's going to land. It's just a matter of time. This outcome, what I always say to myself is the outcome of grace is guaranteed. The outcome of grace is guaranteed. There's no question. Even the United Nations, says the only sustainable way of existing on planet Earth is going to be to go vegan, plant-based nutrition. Even the United Nations says that. The European Union says that. It's indisputable. There's an insurmountable amount of data substantiating that this is what needs to happen now. And all we can do is do our part to further it along. Just like I'm sure the same people who were working on abolishing slavery, the same people who are working on women's suffrage, women voting, the same people who are working on gay liberation are now working on animal liberation. So it's a progression in human consciousness. And just as we have gone from emancipating the slaves, we still have modern day slavery, but I'm talking about, the African American slavery. We passed through that very, very dark time in history. We passed through the dark history of women not being able to vote, as was exercised yesterday on voting day. And we have passed in many states gay liberation, that same-sex marriages can be legalized. And the next thing in this trajectory of human consciousness is animal liberation, which is human liberation, which is environmental liberation. This is the trajectory of things. The momentum is in that direction. Grace is on our side. All we have to do is stay the course.
So inspirational. Angel, this is wonderful. I'm so glad that people are able to view this and it's being recorded. And we will send a replay link for those who want to listen again, people who registered for the webinar. And so we have a couple of people who are making comments, and two of them are very interested in hearing at least some of your 10 ideas. You mentioned that you had 10 ways, and if you could elaborate a little bit on that too.
Sure. My 10 compelling reasons. First and foremost, because I'm an ethical vegan, is animal welfare. So there's over 60 billion animals tortured and killed for food every year, and over 1 trillion marine animals. So by going vegan, we can put an end to animal suffering. Every vegan saves over 100 lives per year. So, and that's just them, not to mention all the people they influence through their vegan advocacy, the ripple effect, countless more they're saving by giving a voice to it on, summits just like this, on webinars just like we're doing today. We're getting the word out, we're influencing people. Okay, the second one is starvation. So it takes up to 16 pounds of grain to make 1 pound of meat. If that 16 pounds of grains go directly into the people, there would be no starvation worldwide. The third one, I'm just giving the key points in the interest of time, but it's all elaborated in detail in my book with a lot of reasons for each area. The third one is water shortage. Over 40% of the world is facing water shortage. It takes 2,500 gallons of water to make 1 pound of animal protein, where it takes 250 gallons of water to make a comparable amount of plant protein. So if someone goes vegan, they save hundreds of gallons of water, and we'd have no water shortage worldwide. The fourth one is deforestation. 80% of deforestation is attributable to the meat, dairy, and egg industry, as I said earlier in this conversation, because it's for grazing cattle and for growing the feed crop for them. If people went vegan, we could reverse that and have reforestation instead of deforestation, which is the lungs of our planet. Anyone who's into yoga, who's teaching pranayama and breathing, if they don't connect those dots, we need to help them do that. And that's what my life is dedicated to. Okay, then the fifth one is global warming. There's so much up in arms about global warming, but 51% of greenhouse gas emissions comes from animal agriculture, because cows release as part of their digestive process methane gas, nitrous oxide, and other toxic things that contributes to global warming. by more than all of transportation combined. So people talk about getting a Prius or, I mean, it's great if you do all those things. That's all helpful, but that's nothing. All the forms of transportation combined. We're talking cars, trucks, planes, trains, airplanes, motorcycles, boats, you name it. Combine all of that in terms of greenhouse effects. What trumps that is animal agriculture. So all this talk that people say about at these conferences of climate crisis, we'd have no climate crisis on planet Earth today if everybody went vegan. It's just facts, indisputable facts. Okay, then after global warming, that's number 5. Number 6 is pollution. So these animals, imprisoned animals in factory farms, they produce 20 times the excrement of the entire human population. And because of the fact that they're routinely injected with pesticides and herbicides and antibiotics and all toxic substances just to keep them alive in these concentration camp facilities, all of that goes into their excrement and goes into our water untreated. So anybody who wants clean water to swim in or to drink or to leave for our children, you would have to go vegan. If you go vegan and shut down these horrific factory farms, all that pollution to our water, to our air, to our Aina, to the earth would be eliminated. Okay, next is increase energy. So it takes 8 times as many fossil fuels to create 1 pound of protein than it does from animals, than it does from vegan sources. So if people went vegan, we'd have 8 times more fossil fuels and energy, and we could also, if we weren't doing all this deforestation, everything, we can do hydroelectric and other forms of clean energy that there would be no energy shortage whatsoever. The next compelling reason is improving your health. So the number 1 cause of death in this country, as we all know, is heart disease. Number 2 is cancer. All these other ailments of high blood pressure, of obesity, diabetes, arthritis, you name it, they can all be arrested and reversed through vegan diet. And then my 9th reason is eliminating modern day slavery. A lot of people don't connect the dots. How does modern day slavery have to do with veganism? Well, if we have time, I can explain that in a nutshell if you want me to, or I could just go to the 10th reason. Up to you.
Well, let's get the nutshell because I think people will
The
be
nutshell
curious otherwise.
version is, yes, the nutshell version is that about 11,000 years ago in the Near East was the first time that animals were imprisoned and branded and hobbled and confined for the purpose of using their flesh, their milk, their hide, and their labor. In order for that to happen, up until that time, there had been kinship between humans and animals that was depicted in these totem poles where animals were revered. So it took those herdsmen to do that, and those farmers, they had to shut down their innate compassion in order to do that. By shutting down their innate compassion and making that treatment toward animals the, quote, new normal, it wasn't a big jump then to do that to your wife or to have slavery or to have war or to have terrorism. You see, it all has its root in cruelty to animals. All of it. And then when people are ingesting the biochemistry of this terror, well, of course they're depressed. Of course they want to do violent acts. If you're being fed with violence, what is that nurturing in you? So the whole modern day slavery, it's all a result of this consciousness of violence and domination. There are more slaves now than there were in the 1800s because now there's all the child trafficking. There's these child brides, which is another way of saying sexual slavery. There are horrific, there's more slavery now in the world than ever before. And it's all based on this consciousness of dominance and violation. However, if we can replace that consciousness with ahimsa, nonviolence,
Mm-hmm.
with cooperation, with compassion, then all these problems that I mentioned, all 9 of them, can be reversed immediately. And the 10th compelling reason is it's the right thing to do. What's best for us is best for every ecosystem on the planet upon which all of our lives depend.
Wow. Well, this has been very enlightening and also instructive for many of us. I will speak for myself because you shared that with such love and open-heartedness, but also with
Thank you.
very key facts. And those are things that I have trouble hanging on to mentally. So I will review this myself so that I can include some of the 10 compelling reasons when I speak to people. And we have
Thank
a
you.
question, maybe our last question for this evening. Melanie's
Yes.
asking, so how do you approach discussing veganism, the intersection of veganism and spirituality with family and friends? And is this something that you might bring up with them or wait until the opportune moment arises, or maybe if someone else asks you a question about veganism and spirituality? Just curious because I know many
Yeah.
of us struggle with like how do we communicate with those closest to us about these issues?
Right. So it's not just what we say, but how we say it. The tone has to be very important. We have to meet them where we're at, practice active listening, repeating back what we heard them say so they feel seen and heard. Then we need to spiral it up to the next level with whatever way we can bring in that that person would resonate with. So the content is important, the tone is important, the timing is important, the listening is important. I suggest having a support system of, other vegan advocates that you can share ideas with and get support with. I think if you invite your family and friends over for a vegan meal and they see how beautiful, how delicious, how filling it is, how joyful it is, we teach through example. And if you can get them to have a popcorn night with their kids and watch a documentary like Forks Over Knives, and then have the discussion based on what did you think of that video. So I think the way to do it with your family and friends is by example, by being lighthearted, by engaging them to participate with you in making that food, by bringing vegan dishes to whatever your family gatherings are so they see how delicious it is, or say to them, hey, you can take the night off for Thanksgiving, I'll bring the food, and then have it be all vegan, and then they see how amazing it is and say, do we want to express our thankfulness by having a tortured, murdered bird as the center of our table? Or do we want to express our thankfulness with reverence for all of life? And so I think that's a combination of factors, being it, sharing it in a way that they can relate to. Find out by listening to them what's important to them. Then you can come in with that particular angle. Like I gave 10 reasons, but maybe find the reason that they resonate with or that they're most open to and lead with that one to open the door of the conversation. Or by asking leading questions, sometimes just by asking questions, saying, hey, do you think that turkeys have the same feelings as that cat or dog you're snuggling up with? Just by asking questions. If someone, chopped up and ate your dog or cat for Thanksgiving, how would you feel about that? maybe just asking questions.
Hmm. Really helpful. Great ideas. Thank you so much, Angel. And we're getting such wonderful feedback from everyone here.
Thank you.
Um, just to let you know that they're sharing that people were so excited to learn about you and your work, and also that your articulation of the nexus of violence, dominance, and etc. has been eye-opening. People are very grateful that you're here tonight sharing with us, as am I, and I know that Judy is as well. This is really such a treat. I'm so grateful to you for sharing your vegan story with us and also your compelling reasons. It gives us more tools. So thank you very, very much.
And also, you're most welcome. And also, I want to thank you, Lisa, and you, Judy, for the amazing work that you're doing. And I so admire your technological wizardry. Regardless if there's any glitches in it, it doesn't matter. You're accomplishing the goal. You are getting these out there on Facebook, and you are getting them out there on websites. And this archive will go onto my website, will probably go onto YouTube, and countless people will benefit from this. And it's all because of your, a mastery with this technology that you can hold a platform like this that will benefit so many people. And I want to congratulate very specifically both you and Judy for your recent victory that I saw on your website with the World Parliament of Religions had, from what I read on your website, the first vegan meal in 100 years of meeting, largely due to your influence and your synergy with the charter group, etc. I mean, you are amazing. That is so awesome. I put that share on my Facebook as soon as the second I saw that. So each one of us, I want to thank and acknowledge and congratulate you for all that you're doing to get these vegan startup groups in all these areas all over the country. And as you said in the beginning, that you're going to expand to the world. So what you both are doing is phenomenal. And I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to share on your platform. And my only prayer is that countless people will benefit from this,
Mm.
that will serve the animals, our precious Mother Earth, human health, and human consciousness. May it be done for the glory of the One.
Oh, wow. That's so synchronistic because we generally do close with a prayer or an intention, and you did that organically. Thank you so much, Angel.
Oh, my
And if
pleasure.
anyone wants to meet Angel in person, we're actually hosting a vegan spirituality retreat. We usually do one a year, and this is our annual one. We'll be in Hawaii. We'll be visiting with Angel on Maui, and then we'll also spend some time on the Big Island. We just drastically reduced our price because we want you all to come. So if you are at all interested in joining us, it's actually the very first week or so in December, which is coming up, but I haven't got my ticket yet, so we could all get our tickets together. And I think it's going to be a lovely event. So I really do hope that you join us. It'll be a full week of immersion into self-care and really exploring together what does it mean to be a spiritual vegan. We'll be doing rituals together along the ocean. We'll be touring sacred sites, and we'll be doing a sunset meditation with Angel. So lots to discover, and stay tuned. The website there is idausa.org/Hawaii retreat. Just check it out. See what happens if you feel called to join us. We really and truly hope that you do. So with that, I think that will close up our meeting this evening. I wanted to thank everyone for joining us. This is a community event with all of us together, and that's what makes it very, very special. And it's really such a pleasure to be able to interview people like you, Angel, and also to work closely with Judy, who I also greatly admire. So with this, hopefully we'll see you in Hawaii. If not, we'll see you right afterwards for our next online gathering, which will be, I believe, December 13th. And yeah, join us And meanwhile, you can check out our Vegan Spirituality Facebook page where this will be posted live. You can share it with friends, family, whomever, and enjoy this glorious evening. And may veganism reign. Thank you so very, very much. Many, many blessings, everyone. Good night. Have a lovely evening.